Okay, so this was supposed to be just another quiet night alone. No big deal, right? I've been left home alone a bunch of times before. It's never bothered me. But this time was different. And honestly, even telling you this now, my stomach twists up just thinking about it. It started out like a typical night, really. My parents went out for the weekend, and my sister was staying at a friend's place. I figured I'd just watch some movies, maybe order a pizza, the usual. I even joked about Home Alone horror stories with my friend earlier in the day. Guess the universe has a twisted sense of humor, huh? Anyway, I settled in around 9 p.m., all cozy on the couch. It was raining lightly outside, that kind of gentle patter that usually makes everything feel nice and safe. I was watching some random sitcom, just zoning out and texting a bit. You know, nothing out of the ordinary. But then, out of nowhere, the TV went off, just dead. Static for a second, and then nothing. I was a little thrown, but figured maybe the power flickered because of the rain. I went to turn the lights on, but when I flicked the switch, they didn't come on either. So there I was, sitting in the dark, the house eerily silent, save for the rain tapping against the windows. At first, I didn't really feel scared, just mildly annoyed. I figured I'd go check the circuit breaker. I turned on my phone flashlight and made my way to the basement. Now here's where it starts to get strange. As I'm heading down to the basement, I swear I hear footsteps behind me. You know how an old house has its own sounds? I tried to tell myself it was just creaky floors or something. But these footsteps, they were heavier. Slow. Deliberate. Like someone was following me down each step. I stopped halfway, holding my breath, and the sound stopped too. I tried to shake it off and keep moving, but that was easier said than done. My pulse was pounding so hard I could practically hear it in my ears. By the time I got to the circuit breaker, my hands were shaking. I took a deep breath, reset the breaker, and finally, the lights flickered back on. Relieved, I hurried back upstairs, ready to put all the creepiness behind me. But as soon as I reached the top of the stairs, I heard a noise. The soft, scratchy sound of something moving across the floor. It was coming from the living room, where I'd just been. My stomach twisted, and I felt the hair on my arms stand up. I held my phone light steady and peeked around the corner. That's when I saw it. There was someone sitting on my couch. I froze. The figure was just sitting there, hunched over, facing away from me. It looked like a person, but something was wrong. They were too still, like a statue, and their shoulders were uneven, almost as if they were twisted in a way that wasn't quite natural. I wanted to scream, to run, to do something, but I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe one of my friends had come by as a prank, or maybe my parents decided to come home early. But that didn't make sense. No one would break in just to sit on my couch in the dark. The silence was thick, suffocating, and then, I swear the air around me grew colder. My breath came out in little puffs of mist. And then, without any warning, the figure slowly began to turn its head. I'm telling you, this wasn't just some regular person. The way it turned its head was so slow, like every movement required a painful amount of effort. I couldn't see its face yet, but I could feel it watching me. I could feel this awful, heavy gaze, even though I was looking at the back of its head. It was like it was looking at me without actually seeing me. My mind was screaming at me to run, but my legs wouldn't budge. And then it whispered. It didn't make any sense. It was mumbling, like it was talking to itself. Just this raspy, breathy murmur. I strained to hear, but the words were jumbled, impossible to make out. All I caught was something about finding it. I don't know what it meant by that, but I suddenly had this overwhelming feeling that whatever it was looking for, it was me. Finally, I snapped out of it. I forced myself to back away, step by careful step, praying it wouldn't notice me. I kept my eyes on it the entire time, just waiting for it to move again. But it didn't. It just sat there, mumbling to itself, its back twisted, head tilted at an unnatural angle. I made it back to the hallway and bolted up the stairs to my room, locking the door behind me. I pressed my ear against the door, trying to hear anything, but the house had gone quiet again. So quiet, in fact, that I could hear my heartbeat thudding in my ears. I sat there, clutching my phone, realizing that it was down to 2% battery. I was too scared to even call anyone, thinking the sound might somehow draw, whatever that thing was, closer. But after a few minutes of silence, I started to think maybe it was gone. And then I heard it. A soft, slow scratching against my door. I felt bile rise in my throat. The scratching wasn't frantic. It was almost gentle, like someone was dragging their nails down the wood, slowly and methodically. I backed away from the door, my eyes locked on the handle, waiting to see if it would turn. But the handle didn't move. Instead, there was a soft thud, like someone pressing their forehead against the door. Then the voice spoke again. "Found it! Found it!" I could feel the weight of that voice. Oh, it felt like it was speaking directly to me, like it knew I was on the other side, cowering. The scratching grew louder, more insistent. My mind was racing. I knew I couldn't stay there. It was only a matter of time before that door gave way. I looked around my room, trying to think of something, anything I could use to escape. And then I remembered my bedroom window. I forced myself to stay calm, shoved the window open, and climbed out onto the roof. It was raining harder now, making the tiles slippery, but I managed to slide down to the ledge just under the gutter. With my heart in my throat, I lowered myself down to the ground, landing hard, but not caring. I just ran. I didn't stop running until I was 2 blocks away, gasping for breath, drenched in rain, and my mind reeling. When I finally looked back at the house, I could swear I saw a figure standing in my bedroom window, just watching. I don't know how long I stared, hoping it would disappear, hoping I was imagining it. But it didn't move. It just stood there, staring out at me, waiting. That's when I turned and ran, all the way to my friend's place. The weirdest part, when my parents got home the next day, they swore the door to my room was locked from the inside. There was no sign that anyone had been there. No evidence, nothing. But I know what I saw. And every time I think about it, I wonder, was it really gone? Or is it just waiting somewhere in that house for me to come back? So yeah, if you ever feel like something's watching you when you're home alone, don't ignore it. Trust me, just don't.